I just want to clarify that this video is less me talking about which chapter is better, and more talking about the differences between the two and the changes that were made design-wise. I don't think it's a big secret that Chapter 2 is a better experience, especially in a vacuum. But something I think is necessary to look at when you compare the two is the environment that surrounded each chapter when they were released, and the expectations that we the players had going into each chapter. After watching that Chapter 1 livestream, I'm absolutely certain that Toby loves to mess around with our expectations, and it's reflected in each chapter in very different ways. You can see it everywhere throughout Chapter 1. You could argue Toby started messing with people before they even booted the game. Let me take you back to good old October 2018, where the Undertale account started dropping all these tweets daily talking about something new that wasn't yet finished until Halloween of all days, Toby dropped a link to Deltarune.com. This led to a file called surveyprogram.exe, which, if it wasn't suspicious enough, also triggered the antivirus on a ton of computers. Which, I just want to say that if Toby really felt like it, he could honestly drop the gnarliest virus the world has ever seen, and the entire world would download it without batting an eye. At this point, people didn't even know if this was a game, a demo, or even related to Undertale in any way, shape, or form. I even remember searching through the comments on Twitter just to see if it actually was a game, but for those either brave or stupid enough to power through the innumerable red flags, they found their answer. After the extremely odd sequence that we still have no clue what the point of it was, you get dropped into the actual game, to see all the characters you know and love above ground. Toby very clearly showed off all the characters in this segment just to make sure that you thought it was a sequel to Undertale. I think the most insane detail that I never would have noticed without the man saying it himself is making the singular quote-unquote choice you have using Undertale's choice system, which shifts to the one present in the dark world after you leave.
I was really trying hard to make it seem like Undertale, to the point where I made 2 different menu systems. It's so subtle no one will really care, but yeah.
It really goes to show the lengths that Toby went in order to trick the player into thinking the game was Undertale, no matter how tiny the detail is. Even when you go into the dark world, it's still keeping you on your toes, immediately throwing projectiles at you in the overworld before we even see one normal combat. It only lays all the cards on the table when you experience the most unforgettable moment of Chapter 1, the first fight. It was just stunning in comparison to Undertale, and a major information overload. We got idle animations, party members, a meter, and Rude Buster playing in the background of just normal battles, one of the greatest bangers that Toby has ever dropped just for normal battles. It's so much better compared to Undertale's fight menu, and it really just hits you with it all of a sudden. No time to prepare at all. It shows that while it is following in Undertale's gargantuan footsteps, it's also forging its own path, which is definitely shown off considering that the big takeaway for this chapter is that your choices don't matter. With it now being 3 years since Chapter 1 had released and all the secrets being out of the bag now, how could Chapter 2 even live up to it? How could Toby even surprise us anymore, especially considering our choices wouldn't even matter? Well, it turns out that Toby doesn't need gimmicks to make a great game. In almost every facet, the game is massively improved, despite just adhering to more traditional game tropes. The music slaps even harder, the enemies all have better designs with more interesting bullet patterns, the world you explore looks fantastic, and it has way more interesting characters this time around. This chapter really exposed Chapter 1 for what it really was, a prologue. Yeah, it seems obvious, but Chapter 2 showed the true potential of Deltarune. All these new ideas that didn't exist in Chapter 1 make the game feel so fresh and interesting at every turn. It helps showcase that the game is so much more than just Undertale 2. Toby even said it himself. Really, it just expanded on all the good parts of Chapter 1 and made those look pathetic in comparison. Even the secret boss of Chapter 2 is better than Chapter 1. While I really do like the Jebel fight, it just sort of pops up out of nowhere without any build-up. Which is perfectly fine. I mean, it was a one-off secret boss after all, but like the rest of the chapter, the secret boss has so much more meat on its bones compared to before. You get all this build-up with Spamton as a character, and get even more dialogue surrounding the encounter in general. One of my favorite interactions in this chapter is the dialogue that happens right after you beat Spamton Neo. It's not there to provide comedy relief or be a silly gag like a lot of other dialogue in this game. It's just a cutscene where the characters acknowledge the strange experience they went through and comfort each other as a team. And despite Chris only saying one word, we get so much interesting information about them just through this scene. It's just great writing from Toby, something that is very present in both chapters. If there was anything I would say was better about Chapter 1 compared to 2, then it would have to be the characters. Don't get me wrong, I do love Queen, and she is 10 times better than King ever was, but Birdly and Noelle just don't stack up to Susie for me. They are good characters in their own right, but Susie's development in Chapter 1 is just so well done. She starts off as your face-biting bully who eats chalk, to your annoying ally that you have to actively work against in every battle. Well, if you were playing pacifist like 90% of people. Of course, you don't actually hate them, but Susie really is more harmful than helpful. That is until she becomes a quote-unquote bad guy and finally finds a friend she can relate to. You see a new, goofier side of Susie that goes a long way in making you like her. It all comes to a head in Susie's biggest moment and my personal favorite of the whole chapter, the Lancer fight. She slips back into her bad habits after getting betrayed by her best and potentially only friend, relentlessly beating on him over and over while he doesn't even fight back. Yet she can't finish the job and then makes a promise both to Lancer and Chris that she would finally play nice with everyone. This is the big shift that also changes your party dynamic to finally all work together, albeit reluctantly. After working together for so long and being the final boss, Susie finally reveals her eyes, which is the final step her character takes into becoming the lovable character she is in Chapter 2, and towards being a hero. Noelle's story of working up the courage to assert her own will is a nice one, and Birdly embracing stupidity is pretty funny, but for me there was just no moment in this chapter that had that same emotional impact as the Lancer fight, or Susie asking you to go back to the Dark World tomorrow. Well, that is besides... Come on, you didn't think I would make a video on Chapter 2 without mentioning this route, right? Returning back to expectations for a second, the very existence of this route blew me out of the water. The only inclination I had to this route even existing was when I killed an enemy with Ice Shock and saw them appear frozen in the overworld. Even then, I just exited the room and came back to see if they'd still be frozen, but since I only froze one enemy, they were just gone, so I just assumed it was a little neat attention to detail more than anything else. Nothing even close to the Snowgrave route existed in Chapter 1, and considering the message that was beaten into our brains by the end of it, I'm still shocked that this route exists. I honestly still have goosebumps thinking about the day that I found out about this. I had just posted my Chapter 2 quote-unquote genocide route on YouTube where I just fought everyone. After I posted that video, I just took a nap, and when I woke up, I saw a friend talking to me about all the stuff in my comments section about killing Birdly. My friend then linked me a Google Doc for the instructions on how to do this route, and the feeling doing this route for the first time gave me was something that I have not felt for a very long time. It was almost like a creepypasta, because at the time, so few people knew about this route at all, and it was almost just like a myth which you had to try yourself and see if it was real. But it was. Unlike the normal school ground myth or creepypasta, it's actually real, and it's so well done. I wouldn't say that it surpasses Undertale's genocide route or anything, just because that game had much more time and many more characters to guilt trip you with, but assuming that Toby actually does more of this in other routes, it could easily surpass it in future chapters. The reason the Snowgrave route is still so jaw-dropping even after Undertale's genocide route is because you're directly manipulating another character besides the one you control to do all of this killing. That feeling of slowly guilting and gaslighting this poor, innocent character of Noelle is so awful, but in a much different way than actually doing it yourself. This route fulfills that need for a scene that really hit me as hard as the Lancer fight, and though this entire route is full of gold in that department, I think the hospital scene stands out the most. That haunting music, paired with Noelle realizing that the dream where she murdered her closest friend to get stronger was actually real, hit me like a sledgehammer to the gut. Cause outside of that scene and a few interactions here or there, everything was exactly the same. The town keeps moving along peacefully, completely unaware of the tragedy that just occurred. Honestly, at first I didn't really know how to feel about the game not coming out all at once. I'm kind of an impatient guy. I always hated catching up on stuff like My Hero or One Piece because getting little slices of the story at a time just isn't my style. I wouldn't even mind waiting longer to see the full thing completed. I'd rather binge than only get a breadcrumb at a time. But for Deltarune, I find myself actually enjoying the wait between chapters. It's surprising how well Toby has handled the change to a more episodic structure. Each chapter feels so complete, while also giving off the feeling that there is so much more we haven't seen yet. They each answer questions while also raising a bunch of their own. Just in Chapter 2, we got answers to the cliffhanger from Chapter 1, the nature of the Dark Fountains, more info about the night, and a much stronger idea of the formula of each chapter. At the same time, we're left wondering about who could be the next party member, how Snowgrave will affect the story, if there will even be a Snowgrave for every chapter, what the next secret boss will be, and what is even up with Ralsei. Toby has clearly shown that he has a good grasp on how to make the chapters unique and special, which makes me wonder why he's decided to ship only the next 3 chapters together specifically. Not like it would lose him money or anything to do one chapter at a time, plus it could be argued to be better for the fans. But he said himself that chapters 3, 4, and 5 will be released together, not even all of them at once. Being the guy Toby is, and how he's already proven his track record for messing with people, I can't help but think that there's a reason for it. It would be very Toby-like to pull the rug from under our feet by making us think that we know the formula for each chapter, and then mess with it in a way that makes this 3 chapters at once release make a lot more sense. Maybe we'll spend 3 chapters in one prolonged Dark World or something? Or I could be overthinking things and Toby decided to do it just because he felt like it. I'd be interested in hearing more theories about this in the comments, but even if it does mean nothing, I think the more important thing is that I'm even proposing this question at all. Not only Toby, but everyone who worked on Deltarune have been able to make a game so charming and interesting that I can't help but fully immerse myself in it. I only hope that Toby keeps making games, because he has an unparalleled ability to make characters and worlds that you can't help but fall in love with. Undertale related or not, all I know is I'm there day one for whatever he's making. He's just that good. Seriously, dude, share some talent with the rest of us. Hey there guys, Mystic Slime here, and I'd like to thank each one of you for making 25,000 subscribers on this channel possible. It's been an absolutely insane journey the past 3 months, and I really can't thank you guys enough. I also like to thank my close friend Weger, who actually helped edit a lot of this video. He's a really cool dude and really good at games, so go check him out in the description. With all that being said though, I want to give some of my plans for the new year with this channel, because I know that I've gone a bit radio silent for the past month or so. First off, I did want to say that content will be resuming on this channel. Nothing insane, but I will try to post at least once a week on this channel. Secondly, I want to say that I'm going to start streaming on my Twitch channel again, twitch.tv/mysticslime, a lot more regularly this new year. I'm going to be streaming a lot more once my new PC comes, but I'll try and stream a little bit before then too for what my PC can handle. But yeah, I don't want to make this ending sequence a little bit too long, so yeah, go check out twitch.tv/mysticslime, it's in the description. Go drop a follow, I'd appreciate it a lot, and you can unfollow whenever you like. But yeah, with all that being said, really thank you guys a ton for 25,000 subscribers. I never thought I'd get here, and I really can't thank you all enough. So yeah, thank you guys, and really enjoy your new year. Thanks guys.